Hi, my name's Madeline Aronson, and I am thredUP's brand director. And today, for this workshop, I'm actually going to take you through exactly how to calculate the carbon footprint of your closet. So, when you think about your carbon footprint in your personal life, you might be thinking about air travel, you might be thinking about red meat, food waste. These are all big contributors to your carbon footprint. But something that we don't always think of is the amount of stuff we're consuming. And when it comes to stuff that we consume and buy, fashion and clothing is a huge category. So a year ago, thredUP worked with Green Story to figure out what the exact impact is, not just of the new clothing items we buy and how we consume fashion, but also how we care for our items and what we do with those items at the end of their lives or when we're done with them. So we created this fashion footprint quiz. It only takes about 3 minutes to take. So what I'm going to ask you to do right now is go to thredup.com/fashion footprint, type it into your Chrome or your Safari or your Firefox, whatever you use, and go ahead and click calculate your impact, and I will wait. Okay, by now I'm going to assume that you finished the quiz. If you haven't, feel free to just pause me and go take it. You also might want to take the quiz again, just with your pre-pandemic shopping habits. I'm sure a lot of things have changed. Or maybe you took it with your pandemic shopping habits and you feel like you learned a lot this year and you're going to kind of stay that way. But I'm just going to give you a little bit more context for why we included these questions and kind of what they mean. So of course, how often do you buy clothing? Pretty simple one there. So I'm going to go ahead and put in some of my answers here in a pandemic world. I don't know, tops, Zoom tops. I'm wearing quite a bit. I think I bought about 5 pairs of leggings this year. And about one jacket this year. I didn't buy any dresses. And then this is an interesting one, online versus in store. In store has a much bigger impact, as you can see when you go over here. It gets the smoke plume grows, and that's because most people in the U.S. are driving to the store. If you walk to the store or you take public transit, you can take this one with a grain of salt. But for COVID times, I am like all online. Returns are a big one. Then it's tricky, right? There's nuances to it because if you buy a lot online, you might have more returns, which also increases your carbon footprint. So if you return a lot, I probably return about 11% of the things I buy, just if I had to pick a number. If you return a lot, it really does impact your footprint. And the best way to prevent this is to be careful with impulse buys and really only buy what you need. I'm definitely going to be a little biased here because I work for thredUP and this is actually how I shop. And then when I buy new, it really is from mostly sustainable brands. I haven't been renting at all in the pandemic. Non-pandemic times I do rent. Renting is a great way to extend the life of clothing. Laundry, interesting that we include laundry, but it's a big one, especially the temperature of your clothing. So I do mostly cold wash and I do a mix of air dry and dry. I wish I was in an air dry only situation. It's much better for your clothing, the longevity of your clothing, and that's why this question is included. So I'm hoping to set up a better clothesline situation in my yard. Dry cleaning has a really big impact. And repairing, again, anything that can extend the life of your clothing is big there. Probably repair about 4 items a year with my tailor. Finding a great tailor is good for this one too, someone that you trust. I'm going to move this to 100. And so my fashion footprint is on the lower end. Not trying to brag. I do work at thredUP, so I have a little bit more context. But what I wanted to get into here is kind of no matter what your score was, sort of what would have the biggest impact on changing your score. So that's buying less and being really deliberate with what you buy and where you buy it from. Is it secondhand? Is it from a sustainable brand? Are you going to return it? So those are all questions to ask yourself when you're sort of like building your closet out. Another thing is because repairs do have such a big impact, sometimes when you grow out of something, you can actually take it to a tailor and they can help it still fit you. I've done this with vintage jeans in the past where they fit me like a glove everywhere, except for some reason, back in the day, those waistbands on jeans were just so super tiny. So my tailor's actually been able to like add fabric. So there's a lot you can do with repairing. Care is huge. It's a big part of your fashion footprint. Whether if you wash stuff on hot and you put it in the dryer, it's not going to last as long. If you buy cheaply made items, they're not going to last as long. If you don't repair your items, obviously those won't last as long. Clothing care has a big impact. And then, of course, how you choose to dispose of your clothing when it's at the end of its life and what condition that clothing is in. Is it fit for resale? Is it fit to pass on to someone else? So those are all things that can make a really big impact on your closet. We have a great, resource here in the quiz where, we mentioned some of our favorite sustainable brands. If you do want to buy something new, Patagonia has an amazing worn wear program that we are obsessed with. We love Good On You for assessing whether or not a new brand is truly sustainable. And mention some of our other great resources here. Grove Collaborative for detergents that are going to make your cold wash work really hard for you and that sort of thing. So I really recommend taking the quiz, writing down what you got, or sharing it on social to keep yourself accountable with hashtag fashion footprint. Sometimes you write down what you got and then take it again in a few months, see if your score changed and got better. Also recommend kind of taking it with your sort of during pandemic habits, pre-pandemic habits, and seeing what changed. And if there's anything you've been kind of learning during this time that you want to take with you, go forward. So if you missed taking the quiz with me earlier, it's thredup.com/fashion footprint. And if you have any feedback, let us know, DM us on Instagram or leave us a comment. We are listening. Thanks for taking the quiz.